Greetings. It is December 23rd. It is Christmas Eve. I'm deep in the process of doing our month-long December Christmas vlog, so that should be up right after Christmas, and then we'll have the end of the year coming up. We have made it, ladies and gentlemen. We have made it through 2022. I will say, without a doubt, the craziest, most eventful year of my life, but that is a whole other story. This is Christmas time, Christmas DVD update. I had to be somewhat festive here. Got some Christmas movies, preparing for the holidays this weekend. It's Friday, so let's get into it. Let me give you some last-minute holiday recommendations. This is pretty much everything I got all of November, all of December. Here we go. Starting it off with a VHS tape that I cannot believe I found this. This was something that I had heard about. I had seen clips. I always thought it was very elusive and I didn't have too much information on it, and I could not believe I finally actually found a VHS tape of it. It is called Second Chance versus Magnum Force. And basically what this is, it is a 2-hour-long redneck hillbilly sketch show all about the Second Chance bulletproof vest. There are some skits in this that are out of this world, including one involving some kids that steal some comic books. And yeah, this thing is just absolute insanity. The fact it's 2 hours long, it's from Michigan, Central Lake, so yeah, I cannot believe I found this. Such a crazy, weird tape, but so magical. Alright, that's the only VHS tape we got, and then moving on to the Blu-rays. I have not watched this one yet, but I was persuaded. I was at Target the other day. This was on sale for $10. I'm like, you know what, I know so many people that have this as their favorite film of 2022. I grew up a big Batman fan, even though I am not a Marvel fan, I'm not a DC fan, I'm really not a superhero fan. Batman is the only one I was ever into with the Burton era movies and watching the 60s era of the show with my dad, so I decided to get the Batman. I know it's a 3-hour-long movie, so it requires a lot of attention, but I wanted to see it. I know so many people that have this at the top of their list. That it's amazing. It's a dark, gritty detective movie, not like a Marvel DC superhero movie, thank God. I'm so sick of that genre. But yeah, so there we go. I have not watched this yet, but I can't wait to check it out. The Batman. Then coming to us courtesy of the MVD Rewind Collection, this is a movie that never had a good release in the US after VHS. It had a VHS release, and that was pretty much it. Never got on official DVD or anything here in the States, so I'm very glad MVD put out Ski Patrol. I had a bootleg DVD of this for the longest time, and the quality of it was absolutely terrible. So, excuse me. So to see this in Blu-ray, you know, it's not the best comedy, but I have a soft spot for it. It's very silly, very wacky. It's got a great cast, including a very young George Lopez is in this. So yeah, I'm glad this finally got a good release. You know, it's not the best comedy in the world, but it's silly, it's fun, and it has one of my favorite dance scenes ever put in a movie like that. And just these ski movies in general. Ski School, Hot Dog, the movie. I'm just a sucker for this type of thing, so very nice job, MVD. Now this one's a bootleg because I do not have HBO Max. I've got Netflix, I've got Peacock, I've got Discovery Plus, and I've got Paramount Plus. That's enough for me. We're not subscribing anymore, so I went online, found this bootleg Blu-ray of A Christmas Story Christmas, which I still think is a really stupid title for the movie, but that's besides the point. You know, I grew up on the original A Christmas Story, the whole 24-hour thing on TBS when they would do it. So I was curious to see. I have never seen My Summer Story. I have never seen A Christmas Story 2. This is the only sequel I have ever acknowledged because it's most of the original cast and everything coming back. And it's okay. It's not the best thing in the world. That's the best way to describe it. It's okay. It feels very small budget. the whole movie, each scene just feels like various web videos you would see to promote the movie. It doesn't have any standout spectacles like the original one does. Like the original, you could break up. You've got the leg lamp, you've got the flagpole, you've got him beating up the bully, him talking to Santa at the mall. You've got all those set pieces. This one tries to have some in there, but it just doesn't. The movie kind of just flows, and Peter Billingsley's acting is pretty stilted as the adult Ralph. It's nice to see him there, but his acting is a little stiff. And it's a lot sappier than the original one. This one definitely goes for more of an emotional bent, and I do really like the ending. The way they end this and kind of loop it makes this a sequel and a prequel at the same time without giving anything else away, but I really like that. So it's okay. There's enough about it where I can recommend watching it, especially if you're a fan of the original one, but as it stands, I thought it was just okay, but I suppose it's leaps and bounds over My Summer Story and A Christmas Story too. I've never seen either of those, and I think there were even more in between there, but you guys can let me know. I got a couple that were sent to me as a part of a Secret Santa gift exchange, this being one of them. A movie I believe was filmed in the late 80s but was shelved and not released until 1991. That's always a good sign. It's this film called The Borrower, starring Ray Dawn Chong, who I have a wonderful memory with, as Ray Dawn Chong tried to get me a job back in 2015. Again, that is a story for another day. The Borrower. This is a Scream Factory Blu-ray, and I will just say it right now, this movie sucks. This is not very good at all. It's basically a really, really low-budget, dumb version of The Hidden. If you ever have the remote urge to watch this, just watch The Hidden, because this was terrible. There are some glimpses in there of fun, including, because the whole thing with this alien, it's like The Hidden, where he's going around body swapping with people to stay alive. Only in this movie, he'll steal somebody's head and put their head on his. The only glimmer of amazingness in this film is when he steals the head off of a Great Dane. So he's walking around with a dog head, but it's so brief and it's so over. I'm like, if the whole movie had that kind of spunk, this could have been amazing. But as it stands, guys, I thought this one was pretty terrible. I was not a fan. I thought this was supremely stupid. So, sorry to say that. And then this one, I've heard about this for a while, and I know people that this is on the top of so many people's lists as one of the funniest movies of the 80s, one of the funniest Zucker Brothers movies, better than Airplane, better than Naked Gun, and I watch this, I say, okay, this is not better than Airplane, this is not better than Naked Gun, but this seems to have a huge fan base, huge following. And again, I liked it, but I think it's a little overhyped for what it is, and it's Val Kilmer's spoof movie Top Secret, which for a lot of it feels like a direct spoof of the movie Where Eagles Dare with Clint Eastwood. Really good one, by the way. Long, but good. This one, it has an amazing opening credits scene. The opening credits of this are awesome. Then it slows down a little bit with the setup of everything, but it more than makes up for it in the second half of the movie. I think the second half of this is really fun, really fantastic. As soon as he joins that French mercenary group, that's when this gets really fun. Everything before that, sure, there's some jokes that are funny, like there's one where he's sitting on the train and you think the train's moving. Stuff like that is fun. And overall, I did really enjoy this movie. I just think it's a little overhyped given, or maybe I'm just getting tired of this style, because, you know, Airplane, The Naked Gun, Wrongfully Accused, like, I've seen so much like this by now. Maybe this style of humor is just kind of running dry, but I do recommend it. It is a funny one, and if you like that Zucker Brothers style of humor, you will definitely like this. Like I said, the second half of the movie is fantastic. I just thought the first half was a little slow in getting there, with the exception of the opening credits, which are awesome. Got this one these next two came from the convention last month, Days of the Dead. This one is, I heard good things about this one, and I'm a fan of movies like Seven, Resurrection, which I hear the Batman is also very similar to. So we got this one, this cop thriller allegedly based off some true accounts, which I'm kind of curious to look into that. Deliver Us from Evil, with Joel McHale is in there, and I like this one. I would not put it on the same level as Seven or Resurrection, but what this is, it's good. It is a little long, but it does a good job creating that same dour air and atmosphere that Seven had, that Resurrection had, and the Fallen with Denzel Washington, this type of satanic cop thriller. Joel McHale's a lot of fun, Eric Bana, Edgar Ramirez, and the standout actor in this is Sean Harris, who, like usual, is playing one of his crazy villain roles, but Sean Harris steals the show in this thing, especially when you get to the exorcism scene at the end. Sean Harris does fantastic with everything in this. I know it was a flop. I don't think it was that well received. I liked it, though. If you like Seven, Fallen, Resurrection, these satanic cop throws, this one, it gives you what you would expect, but there's some cool ideas in there that makes it worthwhile. And the whole exorcism finale is crazy, and it's enjoyable. I would recommend this one. This one also came from the convention, and this is one I've been wanting to see for so long just because I heard so many good things about it. And I love the bad taste in Dead Alive that Peter Jackson did. I've never seen Meet the Feebles. I think that one might be a little too crazy for my taste. The puppet, that just doesn't look like my kind of thing. But Bad Taste and Dead Alive I love. So I was very happy to see another early Peter Jackson film that I know gets a lot of love for right reason, because this was actually really fantastic. The Frighteners. Michael J. Fox doing great. It's like a really weird take on Ghostbusters, but kind of reversed, where there are real ghosts that are like helping him con people, haunting houses temporarily so he could get paid to exorcise them, and fun, creative, typical Peter Jackson kind of idea. Special effects, some of them are a little cheesy, but some of them in this are actually really amazing. There's the opening scene where it's like moving through the walls is really cool, and sure, like some of the ghost effects are kind of cheap looking, but some of them are fun. You know, they all just kind of have this blue glow to them. Amazing cast besides Michael J. Fox. You've got Jeffrey Combs, Jake Busey as he's like the main villain. Danny Elfman did the music, so there's this whole dark, whimsical vibe to this that it's just fun to watch. This is absolutely going to be, I watched it after Halloween, but this is absolutely going to be a Halloween staple moving forward. Loved The Frighteners. It earns its reputation. And I really hope Peter Jackson, like sure he did Lord of the Rings, all that stuff, then he did the Beatles thing, the Get Back from last year. Is that what it was called? Get Back? I'm not a big Beatles guy, so I know he did that big thing with the Beatles. I would love to see Peter Jackson go to more stuff like this again, especially reading, if you look up Peter Jackson's original idea for Nightmare on Elm Street 6, which I think would have been amazing. I would love to see Peter Jackson go back to stuff like this, so fingers crossed that'll happen one day, but The Frighteners is absolutely terrific, and yeah, check it out. Last Blu-ray is I got this really cheap. It is a double feature of Terminal Velocity and White Squall. I mainly just bought this for Terminal Velocity. I had never even heard of White Squall before. And what do you know, between the two movies, I actually ended up liking White Squall better. I mean, Terminal Velocity's okay. I mean, it's Charlie Sheen being Charlie Sheen. There's some fun dialogue. There's some fun little set pieces in there, but by the end, it never really stands out too much. Like, sure, there's some cool skydiving stuff. There's some cool action on the ground, including one scene involving this rocket car that's on a track. But at the end of the day, between these two, I really liked White Squall. And it's this drama based, again, on true events where Jeff Bridges takes all these guys out on this ship, and they're just to be men and learn about sailing and just living off these different areas. Ryan Philippe is one of the guys in there. I don't know, normally I'm not a drama guy or period pieces or true stories, but something about White Squall just pulled me right in. I was really captivated by that movie, and there's stuff, I don't recommend it to the faint of heart. There's some scenes in there that are definitely going to upset some people, namely one involving a dolphin, but beyond that, I think it's very engaging. The whole White Squall disaster scene that's filmed towards the end is absolutely gut-wrenching and harrowing beyond belief. So yeah, I never heard of this before, and it surprised the hell out of me. I really liked White Squall. I mean, Terminal Velocity was enjoyable too. It just felt like any generic 90s action movie. You could tell why it wasn't a hit. But White Squall, and it's directed by Ridley Scott, excellent drama. And I'm not a big drama guy, but the fact that one really spoke to me, I think says a lot about the film itself. If it got to me, this type of movie, which I normally wouldn't like, and I really ended up liking this, so that, yeah, I bought this for Terminal Velocity, ended up liking it more for the other movie. I like that. Alright, now we got 3 Christmas movies, and these are all first-time viewings for me. I had never seen any of these prior to this season. Last update, I got that triple feature that had Ernest Goes to Camp, Jail, and Scared Stupid. It's Christmas, so I finally checked out the cult classic everyone seems to love, Ernest Saves Christmas. And yeah, I enjoyed it. It's pretty much everything I expected it to be with an Ernest movie. This is the 4th one I've seen now. I've seen the first 4. I got pretty much everything I was expecting out of this, but in a good way. It was what I wanted an Ernest Christmas movie to be. The whole finale is very entertaining. Some cool little set pieces, in, like him taking Santa's sleigh through a toll booth, you know. So silly, but it satisfies my craving for a movie like this. It's another one I do think would have benefited still had I seen it when I was younger. Again, I'm watching all of these Ernest movies for the first time at age 25, so not exactly the target demographic for it. But I appreciate it, and I did greatly enjoy my time with Ernest Saves Christmas. Now, these next 2 Christmas movies, 2022 has already been just this weird, insane, wacky, eventful year for me. Like, I have not had a single boring period of time during this whole year. So it's only fitting it's ending with me seeing some of the weirdest Christmas movies I've ever seen. The first of which I bought only because Paul Walker was in it, but it's also got Susan Sarandon, Alan Arkin, Robin Williams is in this. He's uncredited, but he's one of the main people in it. And Penelope Cruz in this movie. I never heard of it prior to doing my deep dive for the Paul Walker collection, called Noel. Came out in 2004. This, it's a drama. It's a Christmas drama at that, but it is so weird. And the storylines in it. You've got all these different intersecting plot lines, including Alan Arkin lustfully coming after Paul Walker because he's convinced Paul Walker is the reincarnation of his dead wife. Meanwhile, Paul Walker's trying to save his engagement with Penelope Cruz. Meanwhile, Susan Sarandon is really lonely, wandering the streets at night. She crashes a Mexican family's Christmas dinner. Ultimately, she meets Robin Williams, who's a priest, who who has lost his faith, and then you have this other side plot about a guy that's purposefully trying to get admitted to the emergency room because the best Christmas he ever had was in an emergency room as a kid, so he's trying to reconnect. What the fuck? I was not bored watching this, and I had no clue where anything was going. So yeah, that's a testament to this. Hands down, the strangest Christmas drama I think I've ever seen in my life. And it ends like The Sixth Sense for some reason. And then this other one, I've heard that this one was very notorious and just weird and bad. I know it's a bad reputation. So I watched it. This was incredibly dumb. Every single decision made by every single character at every single point in this film is illogical. It makes no sense. And by the time the movie is over, like, you will have lost some IQ points because you're just trying to process everything that had happened and why this happened. But I'll be damned if I did not have the time of my life for all of those reasons watching Reindeer Games. This is one of the new best bad movies I've ever seen. I absolutely loved my time watching this. It is so dumb to a point that it becomes amazing. Everything in the cast. Ben Affleck. You've got Gary Sinise chewing the scenery as a villain. You've got Dennis Farina playing an amazing casino manager. Charlize Theron, Danny Trejo, Clarence Williams III, Donald Logue playing a role that was apparently originally Vin Diesel until Vin Diesel quit this to do The Fast and the Furious. This is just wild, insane bullshit. But I loved it. It was a ride, it was a roller coaster, and not a lick of this movie makes any sense, and that's why I kind of love it. This, yeah, I don't know what else to say, guys, but I had a ball. That new Christmas bad movie classic right there, but I was thoroughly entertained. I always liked Seinfeld. I need to watch more of Curb Your Enthusiasm. Not too familiar with that. I know a little bit. I know the Larry David style of humor, though. I've got the complete series of Seinfeld. This is the only film that Larry David ever wrote and directed, so I was curious to give it a shot. Sour Grapes, starring Steven Weber and the guy that turned down the role on Friends. This is very much a Larry David film. If you like his style of humor, if you're a Larry David fan and you still have not seen this, I think it is worth a watch, especially if you're a fan of his. This essentially plays out just like a much wackier, more R-rated extended Seinfeld episode. It's that kind of humor, but it's much sillier. It's more cartoonish. And Steven Weber, I don't know if this was Larry David's direction or if Steven Weber himself was doing this. For the first chunk of the film, Steven Weber is doing a Jerry Seinfeld. The way he's talking, the way he suggests certain things, his mannerisms, he's talking like Jerry Seinfeld for the entire first. And I've seen Steven Weber in other things. I know that's not how he talks, but here he's just talking like Jerry Seinfeld. What's the deal with that? I don't know what he was trying. It was a little distracting. And another thing, and I guess you could say this about Seinfeld and possibly Curb Your Enthusiasm as well, every single character in this is such an asshole. It's like, why do I care about anything that happens? But at the same time, that's part of the humor. You're just seeing shit happen. Like, there's a lot of double-crossing, lots of karma, lots of things coming back around. Typical Larry David, like I said, R-rated Seinfeld, much sillier, more adult theme, but I thought it was okay. It's probably not something I'm going to watch again, but I did get some laughs out of it, and the Larry David-isms of it were fine. You know, that's a good way to put the movie. It's fine. Sour Grapes. This one was cool though. I bought it pretty blindly, not knowing too much about it, with Hayden Christensen and Jessica Alba, called Awake. I just kind of read the blurb on the back. I'm like, ooh, that sounds tense. Because, you know, surgery is definitely a touchy subject with many people. My dad had open heart surgery this past summer, so I know how nerve-wracking it is when you're sitting there in the waiting room waiting for surgery progress, updates from the doctor. So I like the premise of this, where you have someone who's put under anesthetic for surgery, but they are still fully aware of everything, and the whole film is told from kind of the perspective of Hayden Christensen having this out-of-body experience where he's witnessing everything that's happening around him. Very spiritual film in that regard. There's quite a few scenes that deal with the spirit world and connecting to other people. But it's a taut little thriller, you know? I mean, it's not groundbreaking, but Jessica Alba's acting, surprisingly, is not that bad in this. It's creepy. The subject matter is already uncomfortable for many people. And it has a satisfying twist near the end there. For horror, thriller, medical drama fans, this is worth it. If you want a slightly more spiritual tinged medical thriller, I was entertained. I like this one, Awake. I bought it blindly, not knowing much about it. Same thing with these. I just thought, oh, 2 Joe Pesci movies I haven't seen. I love Joe Pesci. It's Christmas time, you know, Home Alone 2 are on constant rotation. So I checked him out in this double feature with The Super and with Honors. The Super is fine. It's got a couple fun moments in there, including Joe Pesci dancing to You Can't Touch This. That's a funny scene. I'm sure there's a gif of it out there somewhere. With Honors, with Brendan Fraser, I liked it. It's just such a weird, because it's like a coming-of-age drama, but in order to accept the story, you need to swallow a lot of logical gaps. You have to really just accept the inciting incident of it. 'Cause he's this homeless guy living in the basement of Harvard, and he just steals Brendan Fraser's report, and he's burning the pages, and then him and Brendan Fraser have to become best friends so he could get all these pages of his report back. It's a very loose plot, but it gets more dramatic than I thought it would, to where when you get to the final half hour, the comedy elements of it are pretty much gone, and it's completely a drama, and a pretty sappy one at that. I did enjoy it, though. It felt, again, I kind of just accepted what was happening, and I rolled with it, and once I did, it was a nice thriller. You wanted the best for Brendan Fraser's character and all these other goofy side characters there. There's a really fun scene between Joe Pesci and Gore Vidal. And the Super's fine. You know, you'll get some cheap laughs out of it. There's nothing earth-shattering with it. Nothing earth-shattering with either of them, to tell you the truth. But they're both fine for what they were. This one I only got because, you know, I love my 70s vehicle movies. You've got the Hal Needham Cinematic Universe, as I call it. Well, here we got us a 70s trucker movie based off the song Convoy. Oh, this one is heartbreaking for me, because this is pretty much, well, the first 40 minutes are a Smokey and the Bandit ripoff. See these guys right here? Well, instead of Jackie Gleason as Buford T. Justice, you've got Ernest Borgnine. And I love Ernest Borgnine, so it was cool seeing him in that kind of, you know, twisted sheriff role that Jackie Gleason would have been in Smokey and the Bandit. The first 40 minutes of this movie are a riot. It is 70s as hell, it is corny as hell, and it has the funniest bar fight scene I think I have ever witnessed, that's edited like a John Woo movie with the most ridiculous sound effects. For the first 40 minutes, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a blast. This is like the redneck truckin' Smokey and the Bandit. But then after about the 40-minute mark, when the convoy happens and this almost becomes an allegory for the 70s political climate and mob mentality, I'm like, no, movie, go back. I want to see the first movie I was watching. It was like a hard shift in the middle when the actual convoy gets formed and it becomes this political movie rather than just this dumb chase scene fun of the first 40 minutes. I love the first 40 minutes of this movie, but then after that I was really disappointed. I'm like, no, this movie just turned, it lost me, and by the time it was over, I'm like, ugh. That's not what... If the whole thing was like the first 40 minutes, this would have been... I don't know if it would have been remembered as favorably as Smokey and the Bandit. It's very similar to it, but I'm like, you were doing so good, and then you just had to become the 70s political thing that kind of drags, and the humor's not as good, and so yeah, kind of a missed opportunity here. I'd still check it out for the first 40 minutes. Just be prepared for, at least in my opinion, it not to be as good as soon as the actual convoy gets started. Which is weird because that's what the whole thing is based off of, but what can you do? These are these two bootlegs I got from this Film Movie Buffs Forever website. For the Gary Busey collection, I've got this 90s erotic thriller. Yes, 90s erotic thriller starring Gary Busey called Breaking Point. The best way I can describe the plot of this, Gary Busey is a former cop on the trail of a gay stripper that's going around murdering women. I don't know if he's gay. I don't know if the guy was gay. I think he was a male stripper. I don't think he was gay because he was sleeping with some of these women. Yeah. So Gary Busey is on the trail of a male stripper that's going around killing women. It sounds goofier than it actually is. As far as 90s erotic thriller goes, it's pretty basic. Gary Busey does have some fun Buseyisms in there, like, oh, I'm not up that early, I'm watching Mr. Rogers, or like some weird dialogue. Not the best thing in the world, but there was enough weirdness about it to where I was still interested to see what was going to happen. Not the best thing, but, you know, it is what it is. And this one I had heard was a pretty underrated direct-to-video 90s action film starring Jeff Speakman and Ron Silver called Deadly Outbreak. This one, it's a direct-to-video 90s movie, and it feels like it. Sometimes that surprises me. There's a Pierce Brosnan movie called Live Wire that I love. That one is fantastic. This feels like what it is. This one feels like a cheap direct-to-video 90s. The biggest problem, this lead guy, Jeff Speakman, this is the first thing I've ever seen him in, and he has the charisma of a cardboard box. He really does not bring any emotion or personality to this role whatsoever. And there's some awful attempts at one-liners. Like, he shoots a guy in the crotch and he goes, "You forgot to wear your bulletproof cup." And I'm just like, what? Like, it wasn't even set up. And there's a fun bathroom scene in this where he prevents a sexual assault from happening. And there's a good there's good stunt work, especially near the end. There's this crazy car chase with the explode. There's good stunts in there. There is entertainment value to be had. It's worth a look if you're a fan of obscure 80s and 90s action films. Just know that it's a direct-to-video 90s action film, and you're really not getting too much else above the quality of that. But it's still entertaining enough for what it was, to where it wasn't bad. It's just kind of like, yeah, this feels like a direct-to-video 90s action movie. So, you know, mixed bag there. This I got for $5 at Meijer. There are 10 movies in here, 9 of which I don't own. So I'm like, you know what, $5, these 10 family movies, let's go for it. So here we go. The one I already owned is The Wizard from 1989. I've got the Shout Factory Blu-ray of that. Love The Wizard. I have not gotten a chance to watch all these. I have not watched A Simple Wish with Mara Wilson, though that really doesn't look like my kind of movie, but maybe I'll be surprised. Ed, I know, with Matt LeBlanc, that's supposed to be one of the worst things ever. I have not watched that yet. I have not watched Matinee, but I hear that one is really good. It's a Joe Dante movie, which excites me. I have not watched King Ralph, And surprisingly, I've never seen Cloak and Dagger. But the other ones in this I've seen. I've seen Ghost Dad. Yes, it's as hokey and as dumb as everybody remembers it. Bill Cosby. Ghost Dad, not that great. The Borrowers, not to be confused with this piece of crap. This family movie, The Borrowers, the third in this set to star John Goodman, that one was actually pretty fun. It's based off a storybook series that I'm unfamiliar with, but I thought the special effects, it's definitely in the wake of things like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where you have these little people, the borrowers, with enlarged sets and set pieces, them trying to navigate the world. How can you not, love a family film where John Goodman spends the entire movie trying to murder small children like that? And there's a really crazy early role by Hugh Laurie, Dr. House himself in that one. So The Borrowers, I like that one. Never seen it before, but watching it for this, it was fun. Sergeant Bilko, I think, is my favorite out of all 10 of these. It's a goofy Steve Martin. Dan Aykroyd's in it. Phil Hartman's in it. Really goofy, really silly, but the jokes are pretty rapid fire, and it's all done with such a straight face, with tongue firmly planted in cheek. Sergeant Bilko, I had a lot of fun with. That is probably besides The Wizard. The Wizard is my favorite of these. I just have so much nostalgia value for that. But Sergeant Bilko was hilarious. I really like that one. Cop and a Half with Burt Reynolds, I don't get why that one gets shit on so much. I thought that one was a pretty funny movie too. Like, I watched it, I'm like, oh, that was pretty decent. Then I went online and saw it's one of the most hated movies ever. I'm like, why? I thought it was fine. I had fun with Cop and a Half. I don't know what everyone else's problem is, but there you go. But like I said, I still need to watch some of these. But of the ones I've seen, for $5, I'm like, Sergeant Bilko alone, boom, $5 is worth it. And then The Borrowers was great. The Wizard is one of my favorites. I had fun with Cop and a Half. I hear Matinee is really good. I just still need to watch it. So I look forward to digging into the rest of these. And last but not least, you guys know I'm a big fan of the Blue Man Group. There's a lot of videos on my channel here where I'm unboxing stuff and showing stuff. Well, this promotional only DVD popped up on eBay, and I had no clue what the hell it was, but because it was Blue Man Group, I snagged it. It's this thing from April 2003 called Air Visions. And then on the back it says Active Industry Research Inc. I had no clue what this was. I know this whole backdrop of this gray urban city it's from the artwork of their 2003 album The Complex, and I don't know what Air Visions Active Industry Research Inc. was, but basically all this is just a bunch of music videos. There's all these there's mainstream top 40, rhythmic top 40, modern rock, adult top 40, R&B, all from April 2003, and then there's a special section specifically devoted to Blue Man Group. So it's got the music video to the song Sing Along featuring Dave Matthews. It's got the EPK, the electronic press kit for their album The Complex, and Blue Man Group Facts and Figures, which is just like text screens that you scroll through with album sales statistics and stuff. So yeah, I got a shit ton of 2003 music videos as well as some electronic press kit and music videos for Blue Man Group on there as well. So I don't know anything. I tried looking this up. I could not find anything from any other month. I could not find anything about this Air Visions. So I don't know what this was for, but it's taken up home in my Blue Man Group collection now, so whatever that is. Alright guys, well, I wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Like I said, the Christmas vlog will be up right after Christmas at some point. It goes through the entire month of December. Then we'll do the end of the year retrospective. Next movie collection update probably won't be too far in the future. I'm sure I'll be getting quite a few movies for Christmas, and then I'll probably be buying some with Christmas money after that. So, December 23rd, Friday. Hope you, ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful Christmas holiday. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy New Year, Happy Festivus, Happy Go Fuck Yourself, whatever holiday you celebrate. I hope you have a lovely one. Let me know if you've seen any of these movies down below. Let me know what you thought. We will see you guys all later. Thank you very much.